Napoleon was just then seeking a wife, and his advances had met with no encouragement in Russia, where he had felt sure of a favorable answer. Elsewhere in Bavaria, for example, he met with no encouragement. But in Vienna, his proposals were acceded to with incredible servility. The eldest daughter of the late Empress Maria Theresa of Bourbon and Sicily had attained the age of 18 on December 12, 1809. She had no claim to beauty, but was all that could be desired as the incarnation of the House of Austria. She was an attractive girl, fair and fresh, with a very white skin, tinged with red and pitted with smallpox. Her figure was well developed. Her hands and feet were abnormally small. Her mouth and chin were symbolical, as representing the race of Marie of Burgundy and Philippe le Beau, a mouth and chin which proclaimed the degeneration of a perishing race, decimated by tuberculosis, mania, and imbecility. But what appears to modern science as the fatal brand of a decadent race was then regarded as the stamp of illustrious origin. The features of Marie Louise Leopoldine Caroline Lucy were molded upon those of her father, the emperor. She possessed the grossly heavy pendulous lip, the hallmark of this house. A woman who observed her closely remarked, "Her nose is hollowed at the root. The lips and lower part of the face are thick and somewhat heavy. The teeth are white, but rather far apart and slightly tilted forward. The neck is large, but fine. The shoulders beautiful. Hands pretty. Arms fine, though somewhat red. Feet pretty. Height 5 feet 2 inches. In other respects, a fine woman." As the eldest daughter at the age of 2, after some childish maladies and an attack of smallpox which marked her permanently, she was given a household which, in accordance with the custom imported from Madrid, necessitated an adja or grand mistress, an appointment which was not, as might be supposed, superior to political considerations, but was even dependent on them. Accordingly, Marie Louise had 3 governesses before 1805. One of these, who exercised an undoubted influence upon her, was a Frenchwoman named Folio de Craneville, who, after marrying a Baron de Pontet, colonel of the Walloon regiment, had accompanied him to Vienna. Her husband died, so by intrigue and savoir-faire, she succeeded in 1799 in wedding Comte Colloredo Wolsey, Minister of State, Imperial Chancellor, and Grand Master of the Emperor's court when he was Archduke and heir apparent. She thus established herself down to 1805 in her great office, and although she was deprived of it after Austerlitz by political vicissitudes, her influence over her pupil, who remained constantly faithful to her, was undiminished. Madame de Colloredo shared the opinions which were in vogue at the court of Vienna, those of the Princess of the Two Sicilies, who was its empress, likewise of the emperor or the courtiers, and of the entire people. Naturally, the imperial princess was precluded from holding any other views. These she expressed in her correspondence with her adja and with the daughter of the latter, Mademoiselle de Pontet, who on April 1st, 1810, became the Comtesse de Craneville by her marriage with her uncle. In these letters we find sentiments that could not have been pretense, but which are the true expressions of the mind of Marie Louise. On September 8th, 1803, she wrote, "Maman, Madame de Colloredo has made me write down the title of a book she wishes to obtain from France, which she believes will be suitable for us. It is the Plutarque de la Jeunesse, by the same Blanchard who wrote the 2 works we have already perused. It is a life of illustrious men, from Homer to Buonaparte. This name tarnishes his work, and I would have preferred that he had concluded with Francis II, who has also performed remarkable feats in reestablishing the Teresianum, whereas the other has committed nothing but injustice by depriving certain people of their countries. Mamma has just told me of an amusing incident. Monsieur Napoleon Bonaparte, when in Egypt, was saved with only 2 or 3 other persons. At the time, his army was routed and became a Turk. That is, he said to the Turks, "I'm not your enemy, I'm a Muslim. I accept the great Muhammad as prophet." Afterwards, on returning to France, he professed himself the Catholic, which he really is. Then only was he raised to the dignity of consul. It is not for me to judge, but I think it's profaning our holy religion to say that one belongs to another, for the credo states one ought to confess one's faith. Here we get to the root of the matter. Marie Louise was then 14, and that is the kind of history she was taught. 2 years later, what she knew of Napoleon was on the same lines. "You will already be aware," she wrote to Victoire de Ponty, "what a snub Monsieur Champigny has received. 4 of all the ministers, Talleyrand alone has been accepted. So it is said, the Corsican sent for Champigny and asked him brusquely why he had always concealed from him the belligerent sentiments of the House of Austria. Champigny replied, it was because they did not know you would take the crown of Italy. Thereupon, a resounding smack on the face was Monsieur de Champigny's reward." Whatever. When the debacle came and the imperial princes and princesses were obliged to fly before the French, such fictions availed them little. In fact, on November 15th, 1805, their majesties, the Emperor Francis and his wife, the Empress Maria Theresa, simultaneously dismissed Count Colloredo, Minister of the Cabinet, and Countess Colloredo, adjunct to the Archduchess. This palace revolution for the moment suppressed political reflections, but when the war recommenced under the influence of the new Empress, Maria Ludovica of Este, not only was there no change of attitude, but the animosity burned more fiercely than before. This is seen in the account of the Battle of Essling, where, when confronted with the Archduke Charles waving the banner of the Grenadiers, the French took to their heels and abandoned Napoleon, who cried after him that he would burn them with the bridge, and with his own hand slew 2 of his guards. What a triumph! It is the first time Napoleon has been beaten in person. He has lost 22,000 men and 16,000 wounded have been transported to Vienna. End quote. And at Buda, people were flocking to the Orsi Garden to see the, quote, half-rotted and naked French float by. End quote. The Archduchess concluded, and open quote, "I have already on several occasions been tempted to believe that we are approaching the end of the world, and that he who arrests us is the Antichrist." End quote. The French are to be punished in their turn for verily by their cruelties and sacrileges. They draw down the malediction to heaven. They cast priests into the flames, fling away the consecrated wafers to steal the figs, and trample them underfoot. Now, however, came a truce. Bugna had been sent to congratulate Napoleon on his birthday. "I am sure," wrote Marie Louise, "that he will send his congratulations to Mama, the Empress Maria Ludovica, on her name tag. I assure you that to see this creature would be, for me, a worse torture than all the martyrdoms. And I am not sure that this is not what he has in mind." The heart Marie Louise had conceived of the French and of Napoleon seems to have possessed her, as it did the entire Austrian court. At the beginning of the year 1810, the rumors spread that Napoleon was separated from Josephine and was seeking another bride. Marie Louise heard of it from Cousilluc, her professor of music. She wrote on January 10th to Mademoiselle de Ponty, "I see him talking about the separation of Napoleon from his wife. I even have an idea that he thinks of me as her successor, but in this he's mistaken, for Napoleon is too much afraid of a refusal and too anxious to do us more mischief to make any such request. And Papa is too kind to constrain me on a point of such importance." On the same day, she wrote to Madame de Colloredo, "I let everyone talk, and I'm not the least disturbed by it. I only pity the unfortunate princess he will choose, for I'm certain it will not be I who am to become the victim of politics." 10 days later, she began to grow uneasy and wrote, Since Napoleon's divorce, I opened every Frankfurt Gazette with the idea of finding news of the nomination of the new wife, and I admit that this delay causes me involuntary uneasiness. I have my fate in the hands of divine providence, who alone knows what can make us happy. But should misfortune so decree, I am ready to sacrifice my individual happiness to the good of the state, being persuaded that true happiness can only be found in the accomplishment of one's duties, even to the prejudice of one's inclinations. I will think of it no more, but if it has to be, my mind is made up notwithstanding. It will be a double and very painful sacrifice. Pray for me that it may not be so. Notwithstanding this resignation, it can hardly be said that the Archduchess accepted the cup. She wrote on the 23rd, I know at Vienna they are already marrying me to the great Napoleon. I hope it will end in talk. And should it come about, I believe I shall be the only one who will not rejoice at it.